recorded.
Trigger warning, this is an adult-only conversation. This is not safe for work. I will be talking about sex in this video, so I'm just putting that out there. I was tagged in this post in the 4B movement subreddit.
So, that was a video that I made about what sex is not for. Babies, right? It's not for babies. It is simply how they trapped us. That is the bait for them to be able to parasite us. And this video by Bourbon Bougie is literally talking about the same thing, but from a slightly different perspective, right? And this is from the perspective of the women who have to experience it. This is from the perspective of the women who have to experience it. And this is, and I hope that you get, I hope that you're not just hearing me say these things and there's some kind of like, and in your mind there's just some kind of conspiracy theories, right? But that you have to believe these things from the core of your blood, from your very core, for you to understand how serious this is.
I am not 4B, obviously, because I am married with children. But women are going 4B because they no longer want to deal with men. They don't want to date men. They don't want to marry men. They don't want to give babies to men. They don't want to have sex with men. They are just literally done with men. I support women doing what they want to do with their lives based on their experiences or watching what's going on with the experiences of others. I share enough women's stories to know that women opting out, they have valid reasons for wanting to leave these people alone. Anyways, I was tagged in this post. This was from a month ago. This person posted this screenshot of a long post. I'm going to get to that post, but there's also a comment that this woman wanted me to see. There was a long comment on this post. So this might actually be a part 1 and part 2. Because part 1, I'm going to have to read this long post. But this woman wrote, reading this literally gave me chills up my spine. Then she gets a quote. I was never truly ready for what it means to have sex constantly for years and years. Because for some women, some spouses, some girlfriends, sex becomes a...
There you go. Okay, do you know when someone needs a heart transplant, right? The reason is that I don't know, when they not is it a kidney? No. Let's the kidney. When they have kidney damage enough, right? The reason they have to do dialysis every day is because there is something vital, because those organs work literally 24/7, right? Because they work 24/7. So in order for you to replace them, there has to be enough frequency to meet the demand, right? To almost replace them, to almost duplicate that behavior. This is what, when a parasite is attached to you, right? It is going to be attached to you 24/7. That is what sex is duplicating. The attachment of a parasite to you. This is why they need it constantly. And even the constant amount, and I'm telling you right now, right? Even the constant amount, and this story, there's going to be a story in there that is going to prove you exactly what I'm saying is true, right? Even the constant amount of which they get, that is still not enough, because they think about sex every 11 seconds. And the reason I even know that is because I had a boyfriend once who told me that. And at the time, I was too naive to even understand what he said, to even understand what it meant. I actually just thought that naively, I thought that meant that he thinks about sex all the time. He just thinks about sex all the time. Not that he wants to have sex all the time. Yeah? It's actually that. They want to have sex all the time, right? You know, like how, you think about food all the time, right? But that doesn't mean that, oh, you're going to go get food every single time you think about food, right? It's not going to mean that you think about that you want to go get food every single time you think about food. That's what I thought it was. Because again, I was thinking as a human. They actually want to have sex every 11 seconds. It is just that the human corporeal, does not allow for it. This is why when they see a woman, they are ready to attach to you. But again, the human corporeal that they are in, that they find themselves in, that they got in by mistake, right? Not by intention, but by mistake. That doesn't allow for that. That doesn't allow for that because there is no, there is no the tentacles. Their parasite tentacles have been, sealed onto the insides based on the humans, human physiology. Our outer skin doesn't have those things because it is exactly designed to keep those things out. So that is why the skin is structured the way that it is. That is why it is different from what the lungs are, how the lungs are built, how the muscles are built, because they are all performing different functions, and they are built exactly for the functions that they are performing. So it is that they want sex every 11 seconds. Now I need you to stop before we even go into this. Before you find out what the actual experience is, it's what is in here. What is in here? It doesn't even cover the real experience. What is in here doesn't even cover the real experience. You need to understand that I do not even. I have never experienced this. I myself have never experienced this. Okay, I just know it from studying them. I just know this from studying them because I have no doubt as to what they are, as to what their biology is, as to what they're trying to achieve with this sex behavior, right? I just have no doubt about it. They want sex every 11 seconds. Now, you need to think about something. You need to think about this. Imagine that you have a man beside you right there. And every 11 seconds, he wants to tie you to the bed. He wants to go inside you every 11 seconds. By the time you've done that 5 times, you are done with it. You are done with life. You are going to be done with life itself. That is what they want. But the human corporeal doesn't allow for that. Because one, they can't just attack to you. Right? Second, even if it's going to force you, that is going to take so much more energy still. His refractive period doesn't allow him every 11 seconds. It takes him what? 45 minutes. That's what I heard. And on top of that, you still have mouth to say no. On top of that, you have the mouth, you have the brain, you have the voice box, the intelligence to say, and also the strength to say no. You don't always win when you fight, but sometimes you do win. This is what he has to contend with. This is what they have to contend with. Instead of being able to attach to you at the speed of 11 seconds, right? They gotta go through all of these things every time. Now let's look at what these women are saying they experience.
A chore of, you becoming a masturbatory tool for a man. Please, folks need to get real about it. And some men are so selfish that they don't want to give pleasure back to their women. They're just expecting.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us.
To being a sex slave, it was so hard. Folks need to get real about it. And some men are so selfish that they don't want to give pleasure back to their women. The
reason is he is your parasite. You are not his. He doesn't owe you pleasure of his parasitism. In fact, it's supposed to hurt you.
Just expecting that this woman is a hole there to be stuck. All right, so let's look at this. Her caption at the bottom says, literally, marriage to a man is equivalent to being a sex slave. It was so hard to read this, and I'm sure so many women have felt the same way. All right, so this is kind of little, and I don't know where this screenshot is from, but it's titled What We Don't Talk About. She says, yesterday, I was on the Breaking Mom subreddit, and I saw a post on a woman who said something I feel most women go through but can never really talk about because we don't have the language for it. She talked about how she was turned off from sex because even though her husband wasn't coercive, it still felt like assault. Many women in the comments agreed with her, and honestly, I've been in a long-term relationship before where I also got turned off from sex. The man I was with, still sort of with him, is kind, caring, cleans up after himself, and isn't a jerk, but I also feel that I was never truly ready for what it means to have sex constantly for years and years. I think
this is exactly when they complain about why sex stops in your marriage. See, the way you think of sex, you think of it as, oh, something to do when I want. Yeah? No, that's not how they think of it. They think of it as they own you now. Therefore, it is you have no say. You are an inanimate object, right? You want to engage in sex at your will, but they want you to engage in sex at their will, which would be fine if their will was on the same level as yours. But their will is on, let me see how many times over. Let's say maximum twice a day. Let's say, no. Let's say maximum 4 times a week. Theirs is 11 seconds, okay? Every 11 seconds. A week versus 11 seconds. That is the order of magnitude that you're dealing with. That is the differential that you are dealing with. $97,000 times. Yeah. Yeah, they want you to meet that demand. Well, actually, but excuse me, yeah, 20, excuse me, it's not 97, 24,000. That is the demand that they have. That is the demand that they have. And yours is not every day. This is based on this is based on a weekly calculation, right? If you were not pregnant, but then you get pregnant. You get pregnant, you get tired, you don't want to do it, you don't want to do this. He never stops. This is every day for the rest of his life. This is every day for the rest of his life. That is the demand that he is putting on you to meet. This is a parasite, which means that the level of control that will make you not have to be slave to this does not exist. Do you understand that? Even we naturally have sex, that would be controlled so that you're not a slave to it. Do you understand me? That would be controlled so that you are not a slave to it. It could never be so that you are designed to be enslaved by biology. It will, even if we have sex naturally, it will be designed in such a way that we are not slaves to it, which means this behavior, the presence of this enslavement dynamic, that is parasitic. That is parasitic and cannot be human design.
A lot of women feel this way, but the conversation around it isn't something we have because of how society has shaped that conversation. It has been reduced to women don't like sex and women should wait until they meet the right partner so they can have great sex. We all know that growing up with shame around sex, this doesn't suddenly turn into the desire to have great sex. It doesn't work that way. But what about many of us who like sex but never quite understood that getting married or being in a long-term relationship means having sex constantly and what that really feels like? I personally sometimes feel like it's an invasion into my body, even though it's consensual and I wanted to be having sex.
Yeah.
There are times I felt like my body was no.
Thank you. Thank you. That is exactly how it was supposed to feel like, because that is what is actually going on. It is an invasion. That is parasitism. This is what sex is for. The reason you feel that way, it's not a mistake. It is not an error. It is a feature of this sex thing. You are supposed to feel parasited, and the man does not care. He doesn't care because he's a parasite. To him, it is supposed to hurt you. You are supposed to feel invaded, and you're supposed to take it anyway, because that's what he will have made you. Because in his true form, he will have made you take it anyway, because he won't let you escape him. Because he will tie you down so much that he will not be able to escape him. This is exactly what they're doing on the social level to women. This is what they would have been doing in their original form as actual viruses.
Longer my own, and it's driven me crazy for years because I couldn't understand why I didn't want to be with this man even though he hadn't harmed me, and we're still sort of together and we have great sex, but sometimes it feels like my body isn't even mine anymore.
Yes, exactly. Because you have a parasite, darling. Because you have a parasite.
I felt like I was losing my mind for years and thought maybe I have some mental illness. I feel like no one prepares young women for the world they walk into when they start having sex because it's something completely different than what we imagined when we were young. I never realized how much societal pressure I would be under to have sex, and this can't be solved by the simple thing we tell women to first develop connections first, or men just want sex from you. It's deeper than that.
The truth is, not every child gets the chance to go to the movies. In North America alone, more than 20 million kids may never step inside.
I don't even know what I'm looking for here. I guess I want to know that I'm not alone. I never talked to my married friends about it because there seems to be some unspoken rule to not talk about sex with married people, and it's understandable because it can feel like prying and it can be uncomfortable, and we all know each other.
The reason there's an unspoken rule is so that you don't figure out what is going on. Do you understand that? So that you do not figure out that you are a victim of parasitism. So that you do not understand that you are a victim of parasitism. So that you do not figure out that these men have been parasitizing you, that these men have been diseasing you, that these men have been using you, have been consuming you somehow. That is why they didn't want us talking about it. That is one of the reasons they make sex a taboo when you are young, so that you do not figure them out.
But please tell me I'm not alone. If you successfully changed the situation for yourself, what did you do? I think in this country, we have an unhealthy relationship with sex. On one hand, it's like modesty is everything. But then on the other hand, you see people that are so hypersexual, but so many people that don't know their bodies. And for women, it's a shame to learn your bodies or to touch yourself or to expect pleasure or to speak up on boundaries or things that you like. It's crazy for a woman to want.
It's by design, because the men know once you figure them out, they will have zero way of winning except by force all the time. They know that you would have zero desire to be with them, which means the battle is that much stronger. The battle, the steps between them wanting it and getting it has just not increased by magnitudes, right? That is what it is, so that you don't figure them out.
Pleasure, but also these men want friends with benefits and they want sex after the first or second date, but then you're 304 if you do it. There's so many mixed messages in our culture. And then the whole rape culture of, you can't just want a woman who wants it. You have to want to pressure her, and then she has to give in. That's all a part of rape culture, because you can't just want a woman who wants it freely and y'all going at it together and getting pleasure together. No, she has to not really want it. You have to wear her down. It has to be coercive for it to feel good for some of these people. The dynamics of sex throughout our society is just so strange. Anyways, so that was the post, and like I said, I was tagged in the comment section because there was a woman who posted this really long and detailed comment. Casey FM says, my soon-to-be official ex, paperwork not yet done, was like this, constantly pushing, touching for affection, but then always fearing for sex, saying he couldn't help himself, asking me all the time for sex, saying he is never satisfied, even though we had sex 4 or 5 times a day sometimes. Still, he said he was horny. I told him,
what did I say? What did I say? Even when you have sex with him all the time, he is still not satisfied because he wants it every 11 seconds. Because they are trying to duplicate the 24/7 the 24/7 attachment by his penis invading you, because the attachment in his original form, his attachment is enabled by him invading you, by him invading his host, by him invading a target, who it then turns into a host. It will be a 24/7 attachment. That is what they're trying to duplicate. If he can actually make you accept him every 11 seconds, he would have fully duplicated that. He would have fully duplicated the parasitism attachment, the 24/7 parasitism attachment. Their penis is their way of invading you exactly like they would on their own original form, in their own original form. They are duplicating the 24/7 attachment.
No, stop, it is annoying me, etc. And even snapped at him multiple times and told him I feel violated. Of course, he was shocked and later told me, yeah, I understood what you said, but do you understand how it makes me feel to be called a rapist? And he would blame his high libido, but never do anything about it, even though I pointed out to nymphomaniac syndrome 4 times a day, and he did not have satisfaction and wanted more. It made me feel repulsed and used. And of course, throughout the years, we were together for 3.5. My libido, which was fairly high, wanted sex every day at the start, and then 3 to 4 times a week later.
This is again why your biology, or everybody's biology, this is actually everybody's biology. It engineers things in a way where they are effortless for you, because if you have to put in so much effort, you will not want to do them. Let me repeat. The reason the birth rates are dropping is because men have made reproduction so costly, you do not want to do them. This is why biology works the way it works. This is why your heart pumps effortlessly. This is why your lungs go in and out effortlessly. This is why your muscles move effortlessly. This is why your stomach acids digest food effortlessly, because if it's too hard, you will not want to do it. You will not want to do it. This is why all of these things are supposed to be effortless. And it is also exactly why your reproduction is also supposed to be effortless. And the reason it is not is because the males, being that they are your parasites, they have let me repeat, they have no incentive to make it easy for you, because the entire point is that they are supposed to outsource the cost to you. They have no interest in making reproduction, of which they're parasitizing you, easy for you. That is why deaths in pregnancies are happening. That is why you have gestational diabetes. That is why you have gestational heart disease. That is why you have gestational this and gestational that. They have no incentive to make it easy for you, to make it painless.
Ended up plummeting to not even having desire once a month.
Designer writes, designs, and formats your entire ebook in minutes. No ghostwriters, no designers, just one click. I used to spend weeks hiring freelancers, waiting for edits, fixing ugly layout.
Of course, another thing that factored in were these sentences of his throughout 3.5 years. I am a highly monogamous, for-life person. All right, these are the sentences. I wouldn't suffer if we broke up. I am unlike you, totally fine on my own.
If he will be fine on his own, what does he need you for? Except for this, except as his parasite host. Look at what he's actually doing, not the things they tell you. They tell you they love you, because she certainly didn't get into this relationship because of something, right? Actually, she did say that she did. But for him, no. She said that you will find out later. They got into this because of a passport. But he must have convinced her that he loved her, for her to have actually done that for him. And to be opening her legs to him. Right? That's what must have happened. So now, if he's saying he's going to be okay without her, what is he actually getting from her if not for this parasitism?
Be sad a bit only. Do you want to have a threesome with another woman? Ask multiple times after no. It hurts me when you ask me this. Do you want to go to a swingers club? Ask multiple times after saying no. It's hurt.
They're sexually deviant because they have this biology that is focused on getting this parasitism thing. This is only parasites, which means they only have parasitic design. The rest of it are the deception to enable them to do this. To enable them to do this. This is like the lions when they have to crouch low to make a deception as though they are not around so that the prey can relax. This is the deception.
That you even ask. Not cleaning without causing me a mental breakdown. Never cooking and telling me to stop cooking for him if I do it because I also expect him to. Stopped giving affection. Affection was linked to if we had sex last night or not. Started playing video games until 3 a.m. and did not fall asleep. And we did not fall asleep together for years. Always made me feel like I asked for too much. What broke the camel's back was, even though I told him we were over at the start of this year and I have a lot of resentment over how he treated me and how he put me through 2 terminations with his recklessly ejaculating inside of me when I told him not to do this was,
if sex was for babies, why are they making you get abortions? Oh, Jesus Christ. If sex was for babies, why is he making her get abortions? Oh my God, Lord Jesus Christ. My God, Lord Jesus Christ. Ladies. Unlike what you believe, I actually ate. Sorry, my African accent is getting in the way. I actually hate that I am right. I despise it so much. I despise it so much. Because one thing I would rather be true. I would rather it be true is that we are not in this depth of a trouble. This is the one thing I would rather it be true, that women are out there being happy. That is the one wish that I have in my entire life. That for women to be out there being happy, being successful, exactly how we are designed to be. I despise so much that I am right. I despise it with a passion. Because that means women are hurting out there. Kids are hurting out there. I despise it so much.
these last 3 months, I have been suffering with a lot of health issues all at once, hitting me hard. Vestibular, migraines, 24/7 tetanus, accident on a scooter injured my knee so I couldn't bend it, lower back slip disc made me almost paralyzed in bed. And for day 1 and 2 of my paralysis bedbound, I was at his mercy to eat and take meds while he slept until 1300, okay, so that's 1 p.m. because he played video games until 4 a.m. and constantly asking him, starving. He wouldn't wake up until he wanted. Air fried me 1 meal for the day and that's it. I always had to ask him every single day for 1 week to help me put socks and pants on, put gel on my knee and back, help me get in the shower. He never anticipated any need and he was showing signs of being bothered. So I forced myself to do what I could, even in a lot of pain. Of course his routine was changed. Of course his routine never changed. He still spent time video gaming, lived his life, however. I cried to him 3 weeks later that I was fed up.
I'm actually surprised that he didn't leave her at the time, because remember, this is the parasite. You're supposed to take care of him, not the other way around. I'm actually surprised that he stuck around.
Of feeling in pain, with having the worst health of my entire life at age 33, and having to pay so much money out of my pocket for private doctors and not getting any better. He hugged me, but of course he just did his own thing as usual. It didn't make him more affectionate or caring.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us.
That same night, I reminded him again to clean the hamster cage because it was due 2 weeks ago, and of course I couldn't do it and still cannot. Slipped back disc, knee screwed up. He refused. I begged him and asked him to do it for the hamster, not for me, because it's cruel and unhealthy for her. He shut me off, put his headphones on, and cursed at me to F off. And I completely lost it and couldn't take this kind of repeated treatment anymore and slapped his headphones away from his head. He was going to continue playing video games. In the process, I scratched him with 1 nail, not a lot, but it did draw blood. I also said angrily, "Who the F are you talking
think the rest of it is just the same relationship troubles, etc. It's just endless, endless, endless. Why would your genius biology, the ones that can have your brain running everything 24/7 on repeat successfully for years and decades and decades and decades and decades, why would it choose this method for you to reproduce? Ladies, I need you to believe this like you are like you believe that you have a soul, like you believe that you can feel your soul. I need you to believe this like it is the core of your very being, because that is what is going to make you understand what our options are. Because we have to deal with this, or they're going to deal with us. The only calculus that is ever been present is that it is them or it is us, and we simply have never seen it. They have always seen it, and we are just the mumus who are just waking up. It's not because we're mumus. It's actually because of they exploited our biology. Do you understand that? They exploited our biology. If you're going to say that we have a bad biology simply because they're able to exploit it, then they also must have a bad biology, because the reason we are able to discover all of these things, that I'm able to discover all of these things, is because of the part where their biology failed, of where their biology is failed. And if we're going to deal with this, it's also going to be for the same reason. Then that means that everyone must have bad biology, including the bacteria, because they also get infected by viruses. They exploited the parts of our bio. They exploited certain parts of our biology. They exploited certain parts of our biology, and we are waking up because of the parts of their own biology where things didn't quite cover. And the part of their biology is that they only did enough for the surface. They only did enough for the surface. They forgot that they didn't make us brain dead, right? How come they didn't do that? They didn't make us brain dead, right? They didn't fix all the parts of our biology where we can tell that they tampered with. Because the reason I know they actually blocked it, the reason I know that parthenogenesis is possible is because I discovered something that is called lionization. Lionization is something where there is a system where one of our X's, even though we have two, one of our X's is shut off. And the way that works is that because you need two X's to reproduce, oh God, Jesus Christ, because you need two X's to reproduce. This is why you can't reproduce without them. And when you get a sperm, right? And when you have let's say an ovum, your period, you ovulate, right? And the period comes out. Excuse me, not the period, not the period. The ovum comes out. Yeah. It does this thing where it goes through it's going through the system, because the ovum doesn't know that something has happened to it. It just does its normal system, right? And then it starts to, let's say that it implants, right? Actually, no. The first thing that is that happens to the ovum is that it is instigated to commit suicide. I actually wrote about it in my ooh, your mother's the only one giving you your humanity article that is on this page, right? It is instigated to commit genetic suicide by having its genes, because let me tell you something. get an embryo. An embryo has two full sets of genes, and the ovums that make up the eggs that then get that get released later in years, that come out in the period, is they get separated at the time. They get set aside at that very time, which means you have two full sets of genes. So why would you go from having two full sets of genes? You're going to repeat. So that those cells are made to produce an organism that is two full sets of genes, right? And they were set aside when they too were two full sets of genes. Then why would you commit genetic suicide by huffing yourself? Guys, this is crazy. This is like when you want to cook eggs and then you throw away all your eggs and then you go to the store to go and buy somebody else's eggs, but they can't tell you when they will release your eggs or when they will have eggs available. They can't tell you if, I mean, you can't, the store's not even open and you don't know when the store is going to be open and all these kinds of crazy things. This just doesn't happen. So why would you two full eggs when the ovums are set aside, right? The ovulatory cells, they are set aside when you have two full cells, when you have two full sets of genes, and then they have themselves. This is madness. This is such a level of madness. It's crazy that anyone ever believed this. It's crazy that the scientists didn't catch this. It has itself. So that's what it does. That's why it can't implant. But then let's say one of the ovums actually escaped that, whatever it is that is instigating them to commit that suicide, right? And that means that it's going to go on to grow, right? It's going to go on to do its normal process thing. And so they set up this thing where it checks to make sure you have a paternal sourced X chromosome, which means that you have to have had sperm from a male. You have to have an extra X from a male, which is basically saying that. Let me tell you the insanity that is, the level of insanity that is doing. Okay, you have your heart that pumps blood through your entire body. Yeah. Okay. And the essence of that is that it has to pump. So now, in order for it to pump, you first have to get the pump from someone else before it can pump blood into your entire body. Right? That's basically the level of insanity that is. That is basically the level of insanity that they want us to believe is our biology. So that you can't pump blood unless you get something from someone else. This is madness. This is madness. So it checks to make sure that you have a paternal sourced X, which could never happen naturally. Such a design could never, ever come about naturally. And if you don't, so this is if you don't have a paternal sourced X, but the reason it would have to check in the first place, I need you to understand this. The reason it would have to check in the first place is because you were capable of parthenogenesis on your own. If you were not, that check would not be present. Oh my God, I just realized that. You have no idea how often these things come to me. You have no idea how often these things come to me. Okay, this is okay. Let's use the heart thing for example. Let's use the heart thing for example. When you go to the hospital, right? And okay, let's say you're having like you're lying on the ground. You are lying on the ground. You are lying on the ground, and you fainted, and someone is trying to figure out if you're alive or not, and they go and test your pulse. Why are they doing it? because they know that your pulse comes through 3 places. The reason you don't test the stomach is because the pulse is not as strong there, right? Exactly. Exactly that. You're doing something because something else, because you know something else happened. Because you know, because it is, because it is the, how should I say this? It is the after effects of something else. You are doing this behavior as a domino effect of something else that has happened. If you didn't, if your heartbeat did not have a pulse, you would not even be testing for a pulse at all. That's exactly what that is. If you are not capable of having a child on your own, there would be no reason to test for it. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. If you weren't capable of having a child on your own, there would be no reason to test for it. That would not be a control. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, help me. If you were not capable, if your body as you have it right now is not capable of it, right? It's not capable of it. I don't mean that the process, I don't mean that you're able to have a child, but actually that the process, if the process is not existent, does not exist, there will be no reason to test for it. I just realized that right now. If the process of having your own child is not in you as we speak, there would be no reason to test for paternal X, because nothing would happen unless you have 2 X's anyway. Let me say that again. If you didn't have if you didn't have the ability to parthenogenize, there would be no reason for that to be a control mechanism. There will be no reason to test for it. Oh my goodness, I just realized something else. The Turner syndrome females, those are the ones who are XO. That too must be some kind of a parthenogenesis. Because if there was no maternal X, the ovum will have died. Which means when there's an X missing, the only time you can the egg can survive is if the father's egg is missing. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. So again, let me repeat that. A woman can have a child without a man because she is the only one reproducing anyway. And the man is simply hijacking it to make it seem like he is producing something, to make it seem like he is contributing. And the reason a woman can have a child, and the reason you can materialize a child that is XO, is because you are always the one reproducing. Because you are always the one reproducing. You are the only one reproducing. You are the only one who makes humans, not him. That's why he's not necessary for that child to materialize. That's why he was not necessary for that child to materialize. That is why you can have an XO female that has only one X, that has only one X chromosome. I have gotten way off topic. I have gotten way off topic. Now, you have to understand that the reason that these things come to me all the time is because I figured out the logic of biology and the logic of genes. It's not because I'm extra smart. It's not because I studied these things. It's actually because I figured out the logic of genes. And the logic of genes are literally in the way we have our bodies right now, in the way we've observed organisms, which means that you can have this logic too. You have this logic too. It simply has been misappropriated. And so we need to reconnect to that. We need to reconnect to that logic of how biology works, of how genes work, because these things are all controlled on the genetic level. The reason these males look like us is because they have our genes. The reason they are not us is because they have genes that are of a different source. It is all attached to genes, which is again why there can be no good man. It's all of them because they all have the same genes, which means they all work the same way. Whew. So the science part that's going to walk you through the
who the hell are you talking
genes,
to like that?
that's going to be released soon. Okay, that is going to be released soon. I'm just trying to find a way to make it so easy because I am on an advanced level, because not only because I've been studying this, because I also have a life science degree where I have studied this for years. So it takes a lot less effort for me to understand it. But for the layperson, you're not going to understand a lot of the things that I would understand. So it's going to be coming out soon. Keep an eye out for that.
He looked at me shocked.
That's it for now.